What I'm hoping that we'll get out of today is an analysis of what it takes to move your business from a challenged, cumbersome environment where you don't really know a whole lot about your customers and you're not able to fully make your sales teams and marketing teams and customer service efficient. Moving to a place where you have a better understanding of who your customers are, what they need, and how to engage them and engage your employees to engage your customers in a better way. You've probably seen a few of these this week, I imagine. As a publicly traded company, this is our safe harbor statement. Make only purchase decisions based on what's available in the market today. Now, if you've seen this, I don't want to be redundant, but it's a very important point. We've been talking about this message here at Salesforce this week with the release of our financial services cloud, the very first industry cloud that Salesforce.com has ever released. We're tip of the spear in trying to solve a critical problem with our customers today. Now, you've seen these stats potentially. Wealth management, 51% of investors are dissatisfied with the advisor's ability to meet their needs, over half. Banking, 72% would rather bank with a company like Google. It's easier to do business with. And insurance, less than 30% of clients are having a positive experience. Why is that? It's because technology has moved ahead. Financial services has lagged behind. Expectations have grown, and innovation has slowed in financial services. So that makes my job challenging but fun because I like to disrupt things, and this is an opportunity to look ahead, look forward to where customers are going and skate to where the puck is going to be. Now, the thing is, other industries are already training customers in financial services, and you might not know that. Companies like Burberry are using Salesforce to help their salespeople know their clients as soon as they walk in a door and be able to engage them based on their buying habits and their decisions in the past. UCSF is using Salesforce to collaborate with teams so that everybody can share knowledge, work together to the needs of the patient. Uber, if you haven't taken Uber this week, you're one of the few. I have a great Uber story, and it's changed my life, and I you know, that sounds really grandiose, but here's how it's changed my life. I live south of San Francisco Airport. I'm local. Long-term parking, you have to get in the shuttle, get out of the shuttle. If I have an early morning flight, I'd rather take a cab. Twice, cabs have stood me up. Twice, I was getting on the plane, poured in sweat, trying to make that flight. And finally, I just decided to start using Uber, and it changed my life because I could see where the cars are, how close they are to my home, how long it's going to take to get there. I could sit back, have a cup of coffee, know I'm going to make my flight on time. And it was a better experience with the Uber driver. It was a father, a Syrian immigrant, moved to America, signs on to Uber in the morning, takes his kids to school when he signs off, signs back on. American story, American dream. And I love that because people like me, and of course Generation Y behind us, are expecting financial services to be the same way. Know what I want, when I want it, be there for me when I want it, and maybe even know where I am. You know, there are amazing opportunities for financial services to treat clients like that. Now, the neat thing is business applications are also innovating, and Salesforce is in the middle of that. Being able to create and deliver applications that are mobile ready, available on any device, ubiquitous, connected all the time, connected with products, services, the client, and other partners so they can cross-sell and deliver multiple services. Real-time engagement. I don't have to wait for a report to be mailed to me. Why should I have to wait for a report to be mailed to me? I should have real-time access to my information right now, how I need to see it. Integrated with data, relevant market analysis and news, and scalable. Be able to accelerate and grow, not have to wait for re-implementations and servers and all the mess of the 80s, being able to actually scale as your business grows. Now, Salesforce happily is delivering a new way to build applications and bring them to market. So with the Salesforce Cloud, I might mention that if you're new to Salesforce.com, it's exciting to be part of a company that in 1999 started solving a problem for customer sales and customer service, but realized that in the investment it took to deliver customer sales and customer service for companies that were mobile anywhere, needed data to be as trusted and secure as a government scale application, but as easy to access as ordering a book on Amazon. The investment that went into building that built a underlying platform architecture that if you strip away the veneer of what a CRM is, underneath is the most amazing cloud platform that that had existed at that point. And so it's fun to be part of that because we opened it up, and part of my job is to open it up to partners and say, you know what, show us what you're going to do with this. We've kind of thought of things that we want to build. We think it's pretty special if other innovators can come onto our platform and bring it further along and show us where the market's going, and let us help you be the underpinnings of the cloud platform, the mobile-ready, the Lightning components for building applications on demand, and then the ability to empower everyone. And finally, the most exciting part potentially for financial services, if you're a small company, an ISV trying to innovate for a customer, you don't have to rebuild security. You get to benefit from what Salesforce has already invested in, the billions we've already put into making it the most trusted and secure multi-tenant cloud in the marketplace. So that benefits customers because they can know if they're buying from a partner of Salesforce and it's a Salesforce-based application, it's the same trust and security that they would get from Salesforce CRM. Now, and applications are revolutionizing every industry based on Salesforce products. And we have partners in government, healthcare and life sciences, education, media, and of course, financial services. So what my team does is helps bring partners to market, solving the needs of wealth management, solving the needs of banking, retail and commercial, solving the needs of insurance and capital markets. And so it's an exciting time to be part of this because, like I said, the customers are pushing the market a certain direction. They're demanding more. Technology that had been implemented, the sunk costs of 1980 is starting, the cobwebs are showing. And so we want to be the ones that stand in the middle and say, let us get you there to the customer and help solve those needs. So it's a fun time to be an innovator. And on Salesforce, this is a fun time to be part of Salesforce. This is the first time we've ever released an industry cloud. And we've said over and over again, this industry cloud is solving the needs of the customer engagement model for financial services. But we need partners to build on it and around it to solve the unique needs of specific industries. Those include independent software vendors and systems integrators, the partners who build packaged applications that can be configured and customized for the needs of a client, or systems integrators who can build to suit custom to design the needs of a particular customer and integrate other applications into Salesforce. Increasingly, Salesforce, as the engagement platform, is becoming the hub of a business person. And that hub collects the data from other different sources and gives the customer one place to look for their source of truth, one place to engage internally, and one place to engage with their customers externally. The AppExchange, if you haven't heard about it, is the channel by which these applications can be delivered to the marketplace. So over 2,800 applications on our AppExchange and over 3 million installations. A neat stat, I'm not sure how new this is, it may even be higher at the very bottom there, but 79% or more of our customers have installed at least one application off the AppExchange. And increasingly, I forget the stat, probably over 30%, I think, of our customers have installed 5 or more applications off the AppExchange. Well, what does that mean? It means it means customers are trusting Salesforce to be the location by which they can collect enterprise applications to run their business. And when you install an app off the AppExchange, they may be third-party products sold by a third party, supported by a third party, but delivered in the same infrastructure, so it's uniform as a customer experience. You don't have to jump out. You can have additional tabs or additional space. And if you saw the Lightning demos, which I'm really excited about, that user experience is going to be on the left side, the logos of the partner apps that are installed in your instance. And you can simply, if you're on a phone, touch it, or on your desktop, click it, and now you're in that partner's experience in the same user interface design. So it expands and extends the needs of your customer. Now, how do partners do that? Well, we give them the ability to use the same Salesforce architecture. If you've used Salesforce, you can configure it, you can customize, create custom objects. We give partners the same ability to create custom objects, expand and extend beyond what a Salesforce CRM does alone, and then benefit from the same security multi-tenant infrastructure, and then package it. Now this is important for 2 reasons. Number one, packaging it saves the intellectual property of our partners. So it's packaged, it's theirs, they own it. It may be our platform delivering it, but it's their property to support and sell and modify. And it's important for the customer because it means it's secure. It means it's not something that can be hacked. and diced up. It's something that has been contained. Every AppExchange partner goes through a security review from Salesforce, which is a rigorous process. Some partners may say an onerous process, but it's necessary. It means that a customer who buys this knows that Salesforce's security team has vetted it and can say it's not going to get hacked into. The data that you trust us with can be trusted on their product as well. Now, and finally, security. If I haven't said it enough times, you've got the same security at application level, the role hierarchy, the profiles, the field level security that you can configure in your org. This partner application can benefit from that same security. And on the infrastructure level, behind the scenes in the service, they use the same servers as we do, the same cage, the same security that we put in place. Now, at this point, I want to turn it over to the stars of the show and welcome up Brian Utrip to talk about what he's done with KeyBank. Brian?
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see the other survivors from last night as well. So for KeyBank, this is actually my third Dreamforce. 2 years ago, I came as a prospect. Last year, we had made the purchase, and we were in the middle of the development process. And this year, we're nearly through our deployment. The AppExchange for us, was very overwhelming, I think, from the beginning. But as we've kind of gotten into our build, we made a strategic choice at the very beginning to select a vendor that we go pretty far back with and is a trusted vendor of ours, and that's S&P Capital IQ. And we did that for a number of reasons. Certainly to experience the AppExchange, to see what value we can drive out of that, but also really to address other issues that we've had in our other CRM platforms. But first, let me talk a little bit about KeyBank. So KeyBank, you may or may not know, it's a super regional bank out of Cleveland, Ohio. We have traditional banking services that are in our footprint. You'll see in the blue states there our community bank. In addition to the footprint there on the community bank, the corporate bank also handles most of our commercial businesses and products, our B2B, as well as our product offerings. And our offices are, in many cases, nationwide. We support national and sometimes international customers. Specifically, our build in Salesforce is in our commercial space at the moment. So in the community bank space, the business banking group and commercial banking group handle most clients under $500 million in revenue. The corporate bank, which are the next three lines of businesses there, real estate, KeyBank Capital Markets, and equipment finance, typically either handle businesses at $500 million or more, or provide many of the products that all of our commercial customers use. Each one of these businesses in our go-to-market strategy has a quarterback, sort of an RM or a banker, as we call it, at the middle that is the point person for the client, and surrounded with many of the products and services you see here by product partners that work with them. So in our build of Salesforce specifically, right now we've got about 800 bankers on the platform. That'll expand to 1,500 by the end of the first quarter next year. We are about 6 months ahead of schedule, which is a great story for us. And as I mentioned, we selected S&P Capital IQ as our first AppExchange plugin. But I can tell you that we've got other initiatives scheduled for 2016 that will start to expand the AppExchange usage, and we've got other projects that are going to go forward with AppExchange partners. So in our business, what we really were challenged by really going into CRM, and the one thing that is important to know about our deployment of S&P Capital IQ is that it was in conjunction with our deployment of Salesforce. So it went live the day that Salesforce went live for our bankers. And what we were really trying to address, there were three issues that I'm sure we don't have the market cornered on, and those are adoption, data quality, and a strategic platform. To kind of paint the picture for you, the 4 lines of businesses that I showed you before, each one of those has a quarterback at the center. Each one of them has product partners. Well, from an adoption perspective, they were all on different platforms formerly. And from an adoption perspective, not one of them was heavily used or adopted. In fact, most of what was done in those platforms was simply putting information in there that management required, just for the sake of making sure that management got the reporting and information they needed. Obviously, data quality from that perspective was not very good. It was certainly through the eyes of the banker, only entered by the banker, and in some cases handed off to their assistant, who would enter it on behalf of them, and then who knows what you're getting from a data perspective at that point. From a strategic platform, when we looked at our existing CRM platform, we did not have a platform that we felt we could scale and expand. And that was why we ended up moving over to Salesforce to make sure we provided a strategic platform for all of our users. So what did we do? How did we address each of these issues? From an adoption perspective, I've kind of outlined some of the problems, but inconsistent user interfaces, we had multiple platforms, manual reporting, so think about trying to aggregate reporting out of at least 4, if you count Excel as a CRM platform, 5 to 6 different sources of data and aggregating that. So with Salesforce, and with S&P Capital IQ, not only have we created a common platform, from an adoption perspective, adoption isn't necessarily solved just by simply putting all the data in one place. Adoption is solved by providing the tools and resources to all of the users so that they can get value out of the system as much as they put into the system, which was very important for us from an S&P Capital IQ perspective. S&P Capital IQ mentioned we go back a ways with them. They are a trusted database, a knowledge source for our bankers. What the AppExchange now allows us to do for our bankers is, whereas we had limited folks that had exposure to S&P Capital IQ, the AppExchange and Salesforce now allow us to expand that to all of our commercial bankers. And it's now unlimited in its usage for those commercial bankers, which provides that unified platform. And obviously, from a reporting perspective, it's much better to report out of that, but not just, again, from the data that's entered by the banker, but also from the data that's sourced from S&P Capital IQ to do a lot of targeted prospecting and servicing of our clients. So from a data perspective, what was critical for us was data quality. And it's ironic when you're talking to the bankers, of course, will complain profusely about data quality. They are typically the ones that put the data in the system, so sometimes it's hard for them to look in the mirror, I think, on some of those things. But when you have sources, again, that we did from the AppExchange with S&P Capital IQ, we gave them a place to start to bring information into the platform so that they knew where the data was sourced from. They knew that the data could be maintained because over time what we're able to do is we're able to clean that data. We're able to dedupe that. In fact, duplicates existed all over our previous databases, and now that is prevented by the deduping capability and identifying that it's already in the platform. And then one stop for our bankers to go to for a company profile. One place to go to get that, to source that, so that what used to take weeks in building a profile, now in a matter of seconds by simply sourcing it through the S&P Capital IQ plugin. So what we've done is we've created a strategic platform now that our bankers can collaborate on, one with seamless integration now to a data source that allows us to prospect a much better, be certainly a lot more educated about our clients, and also creates an ability or drives really cutting-edge capabilities. The entire move to Salesforce as well as S&P Capital IQ for us, we're a bank, we're not a technology company. We don't want the burden of trying to create the latest and greatest capabilities, but Salesforce and S&P Capital IQ provide us that ability to continue to keep things current, fresh, and make sure we're delivering the latest and greatest capabilities. In fact, when we launched S&P Capital IQ at the very beginning, we've had another upgrade of the platform that's even increased our capability. Now that folks that have used the full-blown S&P Capital IQ intranet are now linked through Salesforce both to that version as well as obviously the one in Salesforce, so they can seamlessly navigate between the two, as well as providing them some reports that they can just simply print right from Salesforce before going to a client meeting or have it with them at a client meeting. So what results have we seen from this? From an adoption perspective, the bankers would avoid certainly the former platforms like the plague. They would typically, again, fill out notes. In fact, they created pretty forms that looked just like our former CRM system so they could fill out all the boxes and hand them off to an assistant to actually do the data entry. And what we saw was about 20% usage on a weekly basis by our bankers. That has now gone to 80%. And we've been on the platform for 5 months. So we're starting to see that actually pick up because we're also putting some other strategic processes on the prospecting side in the platform. Our leaders are using it exclusively as opposed to the reporting that they used to use. So that's driven adoption as well. From a data perspective, we initially linked our data with S&P Capital IQ. So we worked with them to take our current database and enrich it or link it to S&P Capital IQ so that our bankers had a platform to start from. Now 50% may or may not sound high to you. It was phenomenal for me. based on the fact of where we came from with our data, being able to match 50% of our data, I was pretty happy with. And then from a prospecting perspective, one of the things that we train all of our bankers on is they must go to S&P Capital IQ first when prospecting. So before they're bringing in adding any new accounts, creating any new accounts, they're trained to first go to the plugin, do the search on the company, or they may do a broader search to look at other prospects that they may want to bring in, but they're required to bring that in really through training. We don't have it programmatically required, but we train them to do that to make sure that the data is current. The other piece that we're able to do now, we do have data stewards. Many of you may have data stewards that try to manage the data. We're now going from defense to offense. So whereas historically we would have just cleaned it up after the fact, now we're actually able, with these tools like S&P Capital IQ, we're putting those in the hands of our data stewards to go out there, match data, link it, and bring it in together, clean it up. So that does give us an ability to be more proactive. So for us, I think I went one step too far, but for us, this has been a tremendous journey. It's been a great experience with both Salesforce and with S&P Capital IQ, and we're looking forward to the new functionality that, or continued advanced functionality that get delivered by both of those partners that we can take advantage of.
Great. Thanks so much, Brian. I kept your sheet warm for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. And you have a chance to ask Brian questions at the end. We're going to leave about 10 minutes for Q&A. Frank Vatras from Lending Point, thank you so much for coming today. Let's hear what you have to say about how you implemented cloud lending.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. Good morning. I'm Frank Vatras, CTO and co-founder of Lending Point. So Lending Point, we're a direct lender. Basically what we did is we went and decided to make personal loans, consumer loans, and we're doing it at what we believe is fair rates and basically a very fair term. What we realized early on is that there is a misunderstanding or lack of education when it comes to credit reporting. And a lot of people, when they feel that their credit is not good enough to get a loan from a bank, they automatically assume that their credit is bad, and that's not really the case. What happened in the past is that the banks were comfortable taking on a lot more risk. After 2008, they created a gap. They kind of retracted onto the space, and payday lenders came in to fill that gap. So we're trying to get into the middle of that. And basically, we just set out a mission that says, you know what, we're going to do better loans and give better lives to people. And that's really where Lending Point started. So before it all started, my background is in development. And I'm used to build everything from scratch. Where I was before, we were a pioneer. We started a brand new industry. I didn't have a choice. I had to build the application from scratch. So we basically, hired a team and went ahead and built it. This time was different. Because we were, in contrast to KeyBank, we're a startup, early stage company. We had a choice because what we were doing as a product had been done before. It's a loan. So we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So we had to make a decision as to build versus buy. So the way we went about it is we created a list of pros and cons, things that matter to us, like flexibility, scalability, that sort of thing. We also looked at time to market. We also looked at the cost of the application. When we looked at the cost of the application, it's the cost of acquiring the application, implementing the application, and maintaining the application. Time to market, let's talk about that for a second because, for us, we went live in 90 days. So the company was incorporated in July 31st, 2014. We moved into our building September 15th, and we did our very first loan December 15th. So in 90 days after we opened the doors, we made our first loan. There's no way you would have done that if you had to build it. This is something that I know from previous experience would have taken us at least 12, 18 months just to get a skeleton done. And then when you're looking at it, you have to think about if you build it, there's a total cost of ownership. And basically what that means is, you own the code because you built it. So that means that you need to keep a core team of programmers on staff at all times because you're responsible for protecting your own data, for solving your own bugs, for maintaining the package, and for the upgrades that are going to come along. So that's not something we wanted to do. The other thing is, because it was an existing product, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I did not want to fall into the same pitfalls that somebody else already figured out. So we decided to go ahead and see what was available, and that's when we made a decision, and we went with cloud lending solutions. So this is what we're using from cloud lending, which are only some of the components that they offer. So let's talk about it. We wanted something that was an end-to-end to us, and we wanted it to fit what we wanted to do with it. We didn't want a software package that was going to force us into their way of thinking of a workflow. We wanted our own. So that's what we did. The origination, obviously, it's sales, right? Underwriting, we're using our own proprietary model, but we're able to use their disqualifiers and their components from that. The servicing, obviously. And when you make loans, at some point or another, you want to get the money back, and that's what collection is for. So everything looked good, but we were having a problem. Customers would come to us from different entry points. So they could come to us from the website, from our mobile site, from our inbound campaigns or outbound calls. So every time they would have a different experience. The user experience was not, the customer journey was not the same. It was very broken up, you know. If you were on a phone, it would take you up to 15 minutes to get qualified. We're not an insurance company. 15 minutes is too long, so we had to bring it back down. And we worked with cloud lending to basically redo the whole workflow, make it a lot more agile. And now our calls are about 3 to 5 minutes. So it was a tremendous gain for us. That was possible because of the flexibility of the package. It was possible for us because we were able to go in and, based on the learnings that we were getting on a very short time frame, be able to move those back and work with our partners, who are truly partners, to build the application that we need, not the application they wanted to build. This is a workflow for us. So this is what it looks like for us at this point in time. And you know, we made it down to 8 steps. But if you look at it, you'll see that 4 or 5 of these steps are actually fully automated. So we really shrunk the process down. And that's how we're able to get to 3 minutes. So the AppExchange, you know, it's kind of like we used to build everything, and now I don't want to build anything. I'm so happy not to get those 3 o'clock phone call, 3 o'clock in the morning, that the air condition is broken in your data center, that I'd never want to host again. So we became big fans of what we consider to be like the Amazon of application. And as you can see, we've implemented, I think it's a dozen or so packages directly from the AppExchange. So we've basically integrated all of it into the AppExchange, from the AppExchange into our Salesforce Enterprise. And now our end-to-end system, our system of record, is entirely on Salesforce. And I mean, that's my takeaways from there is, you know, before you go out and build something, make sure it doesn't already exist. If it exists, don't reinvent the wheel, you know. Make a list of pros and cons and see what matters to you. You know, being first in the market, getting to the market quickly as a value. You know, the other thing that I would say is make sure that the package is scalable and flexible on your terms, not on the package terms, meaning that it will fit your enterprise, fit the way you want to do business. That's basically all I have.
Thanks,
Thank
Ron.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, and actually right on time. We've got exactly 10 minutes left for questions. Hope you're thinking of some questions. 2 varied experiences, right, in lending. And Frank, you represent kind of a different take on lending and consumer loans. And you mentioned something really interesting. Oh, I'm sorry, move ahead here. You mentioned something really interesting in terms of you're now trusting Salesforce as a hub for a lot of different packaged applications. And that's going to have to connect to the consumer lending experience. How difficult was it to get the data streams and the workflow and the functionality connected together toward a unified experience for your customer?
Well, it wasn't that difficult as long as we stayed within the parameters of Salesforce. I think we could have made a mistake if we had decided to go and customize it to the point where it didn't make sense anymore. But the fact that the applications were all built on the same components, all built on the same platform, it was kind of plug and play. I hate to use the term, but it really was. It was kind of putting Legos together.
It's exciting. And then you mentioned you started from scratch, you got up and running in 90 days. And Brian, your experience is quite different. You're an established organization, and you had a low adoption already with some software that you guys have implemented. And then you're bringing in a new technology, and you probably had to get someone somewhere to sign off on saying, you know what, let's give us a shot, and let's roll this out across the enterprise. I mean, can you describe that experience for getting that approved?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mentioned our go-to-market strategy being a relationship-based selling model. Certainly one of the big momentum pushes was the fact that we didn't have one platform to collaborate on, that we had different varying versions of the truth for the client. So from a data perspective, from a support perspective of that process, really the executives got wildly behind Salesforce and also the plugin with S&P Capital IQ. I don't want to say easy because nothing's easy, particularly in banking and when you're getting technology funding. But generally speaking, I would say it was a pretty easy story to tell and a pretty big, easy case to make.
And you mentioned some incentive to get people actually using it at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think one of the things that the executives in turn charged us with is that that's great, we'll support you on this, but the bankers need to get something out of it as much as they put in, maybe even more than what they put into it. So it can't be just about them recording, what they've done with the client. It's got to also feed them back information. So for us, Salesforce allows us and gives us, whether it's through the AppExchange or certainly through the configuration capability it has, to really provide tools and resources to the end users to allow them to mine the information out of the platform. In previous platforms, we had zero reporting unless we dumped it out of the system and then fed it back, and time consuming and all that. Now it's real time. They've got dashboards. They're looking at what their performance is like, but then also able to go out to these third-party sources like S&P Capital IQ to do some prospecting of their own, without having to do a lot of research or heavy lifting.
That's great.